All right, let's dive into something that feels like it's pulled straight from the future: brain-computer interfaces. BCIs, the tech that literally links our minds to machines. But what if the next massive leap forward in controlling technology with just a thought didn't involve any surgery at all? So, this is the big question we're tackling today. Just imagine it: sending an email with a thought, controlling a prosthetic arm, communicating, all without a single cut. It totally sounds like science fiction, right? Well, some new research is suggesting it might be way closer than any of us think. To really get where this is all going, we first have to understand where we are right now. And today, the most powerful and well-known BCIs, think of companies like Neuralink or the BrainGate system, they all have one thing in common: they rely on surgery. And that, right there, is the fundamental challenge. The incredible power that these systems have, letting people control robotic arms just by thinking about it, it all comes at a really steep price. We're talking about complex, invasive neurosurgery to put hundreds of tiny little electrodes right into the brain itself. Yeah, these surgical implants run into some major roadblocks. First up, there's the huge cost, which puts them out of reach for pretty much everyone. Then you have the very real medical risks, like infections or even damage to the brain tissue. And even if the surgery goes perfectly, the body's natural defense system can cause scar tissue to form around the electrodes, which means the signal can get weaker and weaker over just a couple of years. So it's pretty clear this approach has some serious limitations. So, what's the alternative? Well, this brings us to a completely different and, frankly, a much more elegant idea. Instead of using electricity and electrodes, what if we could use light to talk directly to our neurons? The science that makes this possible is called optogenetics. Now, I know it sounds super complex, but the main idea is actually pretty simple. Scientists can use gene therapy to get neurons to produce these special light-sensitive proteins. And these proteins, they act like tiny little on-off switches that you can flip just by shining a certain color of light on them. And this is where it gets really cool. Check out the level of control you get. If you shine a blue light, it activates a protein that's basically a brake. It silences the neuron, stops it from firing. But shine a red light, and you activate a different protein that acts like an accelerator, making the neuron fire off a signal. It's a binary system, on and off, stop and go, all controlled by different colors of light. It's amazing. Okay, but how in the world do you test a concept like this before you even think about trying it in a living brain? Well, the researchers started by building a digital one. They created this really sophisticated computer simulation to see if light-based control could actually work to encode and decode information. And just to give you a sense of the scale here, we're not talking about just a few neurons. The simulation modeled a 28 by 28 grid, which gives you a grand total of 784 neurons. And each one was programmed to behave just like a real biological neuron, firing away with realistic, even random patterns. The experiment itself was actually incredibly logical. Step 1, they'd take a simple pattern, say the letter A, and turn it into a shape of light. Step 2, they'd shine that light, either red or blue, onto their virtual neurons. Step 3, the neurons would react, either firing up or shutting down based on the light. And finally, step 4, a decoder program would analyze that pattern of activity and try to guess which letter was sent in the first place. So the big question was, how accurately could it guess? And that brings us to the results. This is the real aha moment, right? This is where we find out if this whole crazy idea actually holds up when you put it to the test, even a digital one. The results were, well, they were staggering. The data showed that when they used that excitatory red light to activate the neurons, the decoder could guess the right letter with 95% accuracy. The blue light, the brake, didn't work as well, but that's what they expected. The success of the red light proved the core concept. You can absolutely write information into a neural grid with incredibly high accuracy using nothing but light. And let's be totally clear about this. 95% isn't just a good number. That's a number that puts this non-invasive simulation right on par with the performance of the absolute best surgical implants that are being used today. This comparison chart really just drives the whole point home. You've got BrainGate and Neuralink. Both need surgery. Both get about 90 to 95% accuracy. And then you have this photonic neural interface simulator hitting that exact same performance benchmark, but with one massive, game-changing difference. Its approach is fundamentally non-invasive.
So all of this is incredibly promising. But, we've got to manage our expectations. It's a long, long road from a powerful computer simulation to a real-world therapy that actually helps people. And that road involves getting over some major hurdles. So let's break down what those hurdles are. First, there's light penetration. Our skull and our brain tissue, they scatter light, which makes it really hard to precisely target neurons that are deep inside the brain. The gene therapy part also needs to be perfected for safe human use. And then you have to shrink all the hardware down into something lightweight and wearable. And finally, you have to adapt the whole model from a flat 2D grid to the messy, complex 3-dimensional world of a real human brain. But despite all those challenges, the core idea here is still just so powerful and so optimistic. This quote from the research paper really captures the potential shift we're talking about. A future where we interact with our own brains, not with scalpels and electrodes, but with focused beams of light. And that really leaves us with one final, fascinating question to think about. We have unlocked so much of our world with electricity. But maybe, just maybe, the next great interface between humans and machines, the key to treating neurological conditions and expanding our own abilities, has been waiting for us in the simplest thing of all, just a beam of light.